Hi, so this is for my preparedness test. I wasn't exactly sure if it was supposed to be a video or a write-up, so I went with a video. um, so for the pre-class elements and how I would set up the room, one of my favorite things that I have noticed some teachers do when I have done yoga classes, and the ones that I particularly loved, having the mat at the front of the room that I would sit on at the beginning and end of class, set up perpendicular to the direction that every other mat would be facing. That way, if any demonstrations need to take place, I can either ask a student to come and use the mat, or if none of the students are familiar with what needs to be demonstrated, then I can quickly do it myself. And it's already at the front of the class and set up in such a way that everybody can see. And then it's also indicative of, yes, this is where the teacher will begin and end, and it is sort of a place to lead the beginning setting intention from, as well as close the class and bring everybody together. So like a great circle, the beginning and end of the circle, which of course continues on. So that's one of my favorite things. I'd also make sure that if there were any props that were going to be necessary, they were already laid out in a space where people could set up their mat. If it's not a bring your own mat situation, then I would already have mats set up as well. And then have the lights dimmed and everything set to go. As far as greeting the students go, I would be closer to the center of the room and wait for students to come in, settle in, go greet them. If they're new, ask them their name. If I know them, then ask how they're doing. I have found that when a teacher is waiting right at the door, you feel a little bit ambushed, so giving people a chance to settle and just sort of read whether or not they're in a particularly chatty mood, or even really want to be greeted beyond just hello, welcome to class, is great, because there are some people who come in and they don't want to talk, and then there are other people who need that little bit of extra encouragement. So waiting in the center of the room and then going and greeting everybody once they're setting themselves up, I find particularly effective, and it does give me a chance to tailor my greeting to how the student is doing that day. To create the correct ambiance, if I have the power to dim the lights will be dimmed, already creating a more calm setting. We don't really want people to be walking in on bright fluorescent lights and everything. If I am going to be playing music, then the music, there would be an introductory song already playing, already going, just so that people can start getting into that gentle ebb and flow with the music. If I'm doing candlelight, I'd already have candles lit and everything like that. Unless I know all the students, I typically avoid incense, just because there are some people who are very sensitive to smells, so anything like that I just kind of avoid. As far as the actual class elements go, building a playlist and briefly explaining my selections. So if I'm in a quiet space and there aren't going to be any external noises coming through the walls or anything like that, I have always found it particularly effective, and I am a fan of actually not using music, so that the breath of the students and how it becomes in sync becomes the music itself. And rather than having something external mixing in with everybody, everyone becomes a part of that music. However, if there are going to be external noises outside the room, or you're teaching in an open space because that's the only space you have to teach in, so there are other noises and you do have control over music, I actually really love movie scores. There are no words to be particularly distracting. You can then really focus on yourself and the ebb and flow of the music without being caught up in the lyrics. And one of my favorites right now is actually the Black Panther movie score. So I would shuffle around different aspects of the score depending on how I was going to sequence a specific class. But of course, there's vocals there, but because most students don't speak, I believe it's Swahili that they use. Not such a big deal. They're not going to get wrapped up in it, but it is beautiful spiritual music, and I love it. So I would probably stick with that right now. And using the environment to support my class. So preferably in a quiet setting with dimmed lights. We can close the doors. We can create that sort of bubble in which to have the transformation take place, a cocoon, if you will. However, of course, you're not always in the ideal setting, so if you do have to be somewhere where there's extra noise, extra light, everything like that, I take that as an opportunity to encourage the students to delve deeper and sort of focus on focusing. That way, I'm still sort of using what is a disadvantage to my advantage. So if you're in a gym setting and, outside you're going to hear people deadlifting and plates dropping and all that kind of stuff, it becomes an opportunity to really focus on the breath and delve into such a deep meditative state that those noises just melt away. And so I would always bring the cues back to the breath, focus on the breath, give extra cueing that way, just to remind students, and then it gives them an opportunity to prove to themselves even that regardless of the setting, they can become meditative and they can enjoy yoga and bring that out into the rest of their life. So, take a disadvantage and turn it into an advantage. Of course, preferably create a cocoon for which we can have the transformation take place. Being attentive to specific things in class, one of the biggest things, especially with new people coming into class, would be paying attention to how they're doing, how certain students are doing, that sort of thing. If students are becoming distracted, but particularly if they're becoming distressed, which hopefully they aren't, but I have noticed a lot of people who have never tried yoga before are very nervous when they walk into a classroom, and particularly a lot of competitive people are bound and determined to try and do the most advanced version of an asana or the most difficult version without thinking about what it is that they're going to be doing mentally and physically to themselves. So encouraging students to let go, which is a very big part of yoga, that would be something in particular that I'd focus on, to hold that harmonious state and allow transformation to happen, because of course it can only happen when you are willing to let go of previous conceptions. So that is one thing in particular, and then of course the safety of the class and whether or not students are getting bored or distracted. If I need to switch things up a little bit, always having modifications ready. And then the other thing would be, if there is a student that seems to feel like they're struggling, get everybody to do a certain modification so that they don't feel alone and everybody can benefit from those modifications. Get everybody to use a prop, that sort of thing, and go up and just give quiet encouragement to those students who feel distracted and like they're criticizing themselves the whole time, just so that they can let go of that criticism and enjoy it. As far as the post-class elements and reintegrating students so that they're prepared to leave the yoga environment, after Savasana, Alana does this particularly well, encouraging students to come back to their body and back to the now. I don't think most students realize that they've even left. So bringing them back into the presence of their physicality kind of gives them a safe place within their body with which to leave. So just reminding them of this is your vehicle and this is your safe place, and it will continue to be your vehicle and your safe place even after you leave the room, perhaps not in quite so many words, but that would be my big thing, because you can take yoga with you anywhere as long as you hold it here. Closing the class, if I'm in a space that I can't use Om, then I would 3 deep breaths, everybody together. That gives students a chance to at least feel the vibrations of their own breath, or if they wish to chant Om silently, then they can do that. And then I would always end it with Namaste, and given the opportunity, I would also explain what it means. I find it a lot more effective when students know what it means, as opposed to just kind of blindly going, oh, that's a yoga thing. So that would be how I'd close the class, and I'd also tell people that if they needed to sit for another moment quietly, they were welcome to, and any students who needed to leave right away or wanted to leave right away, just do so quietly, and they can come up and talk to me if they need to, or they can just go home. The message or feeling of inspiration that the students will take with them as they leave is that yoga is for everybody and they can take yoga anywhere. They don't have to just be in the yoga studio to experience those feelings. And letting go takes a great deal of strength, and just because you let go of all of the tension and the contention in life does not mean that you're letting go of all of the beauty and everything else. It actually allows it to come in. So that's something that I strive for every time I do yoga, and would like to be something I could strive to teach and impart. So that would be the big thing, is that yoga is all around us and it is everywhere and it is always with you. So hopefully this answers all questions, and just let me know if I need to type this up instead. Thank you.